Lately, I've thought that I am a mistake. It seems I can't do anything right.
People ask me to do a favor or to do some other thing with or for them. They might even have a nice paycheck at the end of it. But whatever it is, I just rarely can seem to say yes. And the attitude now has come even into parts of my life that I thought were invincible, such as with my running career. I thought, indeed, that it is a career, and I've seen it as I've always done this, I've always done it well, and I've always done it consistently.
I have these events to prepare for, and I have goals. I have things that I need to do, and I have to keep doing this thing. I have to keep running. I need to run. So, why all of a sudden can't I get myself to do it? Why do I say no so often? What's happening to me? Am I becoming a derelict? Dysfunctional? Am I a failure as a human being? I just can't seem to get it right. Why can't I get myself out the door? I keep trying to get up and to fight, but I can't do it. And so life has knocked me back in my chair and has said, sit down, let me show you how it's really done. You see, the problem is not in being. The problem is in thinking that you need to do and to have in order to be. Who you are at your essence is just fine. But the expression of that essence gets distorted when you forget that. When you think you have to do or have something in order to be something else. So for instance, if you think you need to have good genes in order to do athletic events and feats and competitions, in order to be a worthy human being, that's just not gonna work out for you, because things never do work that way. They either don't last, or if they do work, they aren't fulfilling.
Perhaps you do get the external results you've been looking for, but there's a part of you that still feels empty. And what is that part of you that feels that way? Is that your inherent need for more? Is this the inherent depression and discontentment of humanity? Is this the inevitable part of self that is never satisfied? Whatever you may say of that, I tell you that this part of self that feels less than content is the soul. All the soul is an individual piece of the larger spirit of life itself. And what you are is an individuation of life itself. And so it is the same with your soul. Your soul is also an individuation of life itself. The soul is of the spirit of life. The rest of you is of the body of life. And together the body and soul make up you. You who are an expression of life.
So why is it that the spirit of life itself is less than content with the results that you have produced? Why is all this doing and having not good enough? Why can't you be happy or be fulfilled? You've mistaken yourself for something you are not. You've said that what you are is inherently lifeless or intrinsically mistaken. And so you believe you need to do a lot of things in order to fix yourself and to become better. That's not what you are. When you look outside and you see nature at work, you see animals searching for food and trees growing and the wind blowing and whatnot. Do you look at any of that and see mistakes? I don't think so. When I look at the trees in my backyard, for instance, it looks to me like they're doing a pretty good job. They've been around for probably a heck of a lot longer than I have, and they've gotten quite large, and they keep their leaves going most of the year. It seems like I think they know what they're doing. Actually, I'm certain that they know what they're doing. As for the animals, perhaps they're more prone to not surviving because they have a bit more to do, and maybe the things they need to survive aren't quite as available, but in general, they do a pretty good job too. That they last as long as they do, I mean, it's almost a mystery to us. Not conceptually. We know and can observe how they survive, but if we tried to survive that way ourselves, many of us might not turn out so well, to say the least. But of course, I do not mean to demean humanity in those examples. Indeed, there is a part of the self that knows what it has to do here, and how long you stay is not a measure of your success, nor is how long you do anything. The way that success ought to be measured is to first ask, what is it that we're trying to succeed at? I think a lot of the time, actually, I know a lot of the time, we do not ask that question. When we're trying to put in the most hours at work or on the practice field or whatever it is, what is it really that we're trying to achieve deep down? If I kept asking you why, if you told me you wanted to get the highest position at work, for example, and I asked you why, could you tell me why? Maybe you'd say, because it pays the most. And I'd say, well, why do you care about that? Maybe you would tell me all the things you want to get with the money. And then I'd ask you, why do you want those things? And you would go on from there. Eventually, we would come to a point, and this is inevitable with this line of questioning. I would ask you, why do you live at all? Why do you live? Why are you here? And the question of why you are here ultimately comes down to, who are you? Are you a mistaken, dysfunctional, broken being who has come here in order to be fixed and to learn what is right and how things ought to be done? Or do you come here as something much the opposite? Instead, you are perfect already, and all you have to do is demonstrate that perfection. What if that is who you really are? What if who you are is a creator? You can make whatever you would like. You can choose whatever you wish to choose. You have free will. But what if you are life itself? And if all the other species of life are not mistaken in their ways, why should you be mistaken in yours? What makes you different from everything else? I tell you this, I do not know. In fact, I'll say, I know that the answer is nothing. There is nothing that makes you different from all other forms of life. At least in regards to perfection, there's nothing about you that makes you broken compared to the rest of life. And as I say that, you are liberated from all ideas about what you have to do, what you have to have, and what you have to be. You do not have to live up to those ideas anymore. You do not have to follow all these rules that you've tried to put yourself up to. You see, I find that when I try so hard to do so many things, especially good things, when I try to fill my days with things to do, and I try to make sure I'm doing all the right things and that I'm doing anything to begin with, all I get is anxiety. All I get is a clawing sense that I'm never doing enough. Then by the end of the month, it seems I haven't done anything. And even if I do a lot, it still just doesn't seem like enough. There's still that part of the self that is dissatisfied. And so, with failure to fulfill the soul, the end of it all, well, what else matters? In my final breaths, it will not have mattered what I did. I will not care very much. And I may not even remember at that point. But if I am, no matter what I have done, if I am deeply, deeply dissatisfied with myself, and I have not fulfilled the desires and the ends of the soul, then what have I really done here at all? It can very easily seem like there are so many ways to do life wrong. Don't let yourself be caught doing the wrong things. That seems to be a constant fear people have. You spend time around a child who has just started school. They've just begun their years of formal education. They're constantly worried about getting in trouble. Whereas before school, they didn't even know that word. They've learned, perhaps by no fault of anyone's own, but nevertheless they have learned that the worst thing that you can do is the wrong thing and get caught doing it. Yet, are we ever told why certain things are wrong? When I was in junior high, when I was in being formally educated myself, I thought that I had to hold my books a certain way as I walked down the hall. And then, when I got to high school and I could finally use a book bag instead of having to carry my books, I thought there was a certain way I had to put my book bag on my back. I thought that if I walked around with only one strap on, then I probably looked like a douche. But if I went around with two straps all the time, I'd look like a loser. So I had to do the one strap thing sometimes. And those examples are just a microcosm of every stupid rule that came between and that has come since. Where do these ideas even come from? Perhaps they come from a cultural story that spreads to and through each of us very subtly and almost silently. It's a story that perhaps we do not talk about explicitly very much of the time, and yet its presence is very real, and it is very, very influential. But I do not wish to dwell on that story or on its contents, because I don't feel that is necessary. Not right now. Not right now. So instead of trying to have and to do in order to be, I suggest that you start with being. And you may think that you may be very invested in the idea that you can't be worthy or good enough or wealthy or any of the above, say it whatever it may be, without first doing or having something in particular. But I just want you to try this for me. I want you to do this. I know, very insidious. All you have to do in order to be a certain way is to choose it. That's it. That may be perhaps one of life's deeper secrets. And yet it's so simple. All you have to do to be a certain way is to choose it. Of course, this can feel much easier in some instances than others, but putting that aside for now, the point is that you can choose to be however and whatever you desire. Choice really comes before desire. It's not necessarily about what you want, because all you have to do is choose. You have free will. That is your gift and your biggest creative tool is your very own free will. You are the generator. You are likewise the creator of your way of being because you have this tool of free will. And it is by choosing and creating a certain way of being that you then create the rest of your reality. And that includes what you do and what you have. So start by being, and from there, let the doing allow the actions to flow naturally. And then the having part will take care of itself because you will have what you are by choosing to be worthy, for example. You will already have self-worth. You'll already have all of the self-esteem that you could possibly want. You already have all of the validation that you could want because you will be validating yourself by your own choice about who you are. And all you have to do is choose. It is, at least on the surface, it is very simple. All you must do is choose to demonstrate what you already know to be true. Because you and I both know that many of the ideas which you live by on a day-to-day basis, and which you even take for granted, are not true. And they're not true not just by my standards. They're not true even by your own standards. You would look at yourself and say, I have not lived my truth. I know that what I have chosen to believe about myself is not true. And it's okay that you've made that choice in the past. There's really no need to beat yourself up about anything. In fact, if you want to improve yourself and you want to grow, you don't have to choose to be anything except what you are right now. Change starts with acceptance. Once you don't need something to change, then it can change much more smoothly and gracefully and easily. And that includes yourself. When you can accept who and what you are right now, then you become what it is that you wish to change into very, very smoothly. It's much easier and much more effective to go through life with a sense of self-assurance, with a sense of knowing who you really are. And I feel that I don't really need to tell you all that much about who you really are, because I believe that I know, in fact, that if you simply put your thoughts aside and you just allow yourself to feel that, to feel who you really are in the depths of your soul, that you will know who you are. And from there you can choose to be that person. And you can live that. And from there your growth, your explorations, your actions, even your possessions, will take care of themselves. Your external reality may very well remain almost exactly as it is now, or it may change very abruptly and dramatically. I can't tell you what will happen. I can tell you that your internal reality will become much lighter, much more peaceful, much more joyful. And that will be true regardless of what happens in the external reality. And so, by changing internally, so to speak, the external changes as well. Things that once seemed like massive headaches may now just be fun little problems to solve. Or things that seem like obstacles and annoyances will now be regarded as your tools for creating and for demonstrating who you are. You'll start to see everything as a teacher. You'll start to see everything as a tool and everyone as a teacher. And ultimately, all things and all people as a part of yourself. And you'll see that all things are equally worthy of existence because they all bear significance. And so they all are worthy of love, as are you. With that, I'd like to encourage you to start living as not the things you think you need to do, or even the things you think you need to avoid doing, but the person who you want to be. And when you be that person, you'll find that no matter what others may say, what wrong you have done, in your soul, you will find that you have been and also have done all that you ultimately desired to do and to be. And as such, you will have lived not only very consciously and deliberately, but also very lightly and happily. And that's, simply put, that's all there is to it. And for now, I shall leave you there. May you go and consciously choose to be now who you really are. Peace out, my friend.